Like you said earlier when we first started out, that doesn't require experience for the reason that you don't need to understand the underwriting. You don't need to understand what lender funds what. We even fund the deals for you and close the sales. If you just focus on bringing us leads, we have an entire team in-house that can actually talk to your customers on your behalf and fund them. Hey, Israel.
Hey, Oz.
So I know you and I talked about getting together and chatting about a couple of things. For those who are watching, you are one of our senior consultants, and every single day you talk to so many people who are excited about becoming a business loan broker and trying to decide if BLB is a good fit for them. And you go through call after call discussing and seeing if there's a fit, right? Sometimes there's a fit, sometimes there's not a fit. And through that experience, you develop a certain perspective on some of the things that people are curious in. So let's get started. I think you have a couple of things that you wanted to discuss with me so it can be a training for all of us involved, you know?
Well, I think mainly right now is really trying to get that hurdle of understanding why this would be a good fit. So really like how easy it is to start this with or without experience. So can you bring in some of your insight of how you started?
That's a great question, actually, because my story is not different than probably most of the people who are looking into this industry. I came across the industry quite accidentally. I was trying to make a living doing cold calling and sales calls in New York City. And the number one thing that I kept coming across when I was dealing with customers is that they wanted to buy the products we're selling, but they just needed financing, funding, and all that stuff. And that would reduce my close rate because, you know, we were selling these expensive POS systems, like touchscreen computer systems for restaurants and cafes. They just didn't have the funds. And they said, oh yeah, I need to talk to my Wells Fargo rep and Bank of America. And I would never hear from them again because they would just disappear, and I would visit and follow up, and they'd be like, we're still waiting. Weeks would go by sometimes, if not months. And they would almost always say that, oh, I didn't get the amount, man. Like, it's tough. Can we do like a deposit? And the company I used to work for shut out the internal financing. Then one client, after he said that he needs to get funding, within like 3 days, he called me back. He said he got funding. He got funded. I'm like, wow, that's rare. I thought, honestly, he got money from friends and family because at that speed, there's no way your freaking Wells Fargo will give you the money. I stopped by the location, and the guy who got him the funding was actually there, right? I was trying to understand. I did not know anything about funding, bank lending, non-bank lending, nothing at all, right? And I understood that he got access to like $40,000. And I started building a relationship with this guy. He was working for one of the big brokerages in New York City. And we ended up grabbing coffee and talking about it. He said that, hey man, everyone needs funding. I'm like, wow, you're not kidding. Like, everyone does need funding, but you know, whatever is happening, it's not happening. Like, they're not getting it. He started educating me on how it works and how the funding works. And even at that time, he only had like one funding option available. I said, okay, that's interesting. But honestly, half of the stuff that he said went over my head. I wasn't really understanding. All I heard was that he can figure out a way to get people money within the same day or the second day, right? I said, cool. He said, hey, let's do this again. Like, do you have clients? And at that time, my company gave me a database of the restaurants in New York City who would be a good fit for our products. And I had relationships with a couple of them. He said, let's test it out, man. Like, why don't you call a couple of your customers who said who needed funding to see if I can help them out? I said, sure. I'm not getting my sales anyways. They don't have the money to buy. So I just handed off to him. Honestly, kind of forgot about him until he called me like a week later and told me that, hey, congrats, man, you made some commission. And we didn't even have a commission discussion, honestly. It was just me saying, hey, if you can help me get more sales for my product, I'd be more than happy, right? At the time, the amount of money I was making was not even that much. It was almost like 100% commission. So I was trying to survive, basically. And we meet again because now I'm more curious. This is the second time. Maybe first one was lucky break. The second time it happened really fast. And he hands me over an envelope and I open it up as my name and like $4,000. At the time, $4,000 is the money that I never made in my life before in just one single transaction. I thought there was a mistake, honestly, right? Then I'm like extremely curious as to what the heck happened in those couple of days. And he started explaining to me, that was my first exposure to the alternative lending industry. So going back to your question, a lot of people maybe know that much or little. Maybe they had not so much of a great credit. They're trying to fix their credit, but I guarantee you they heard of or they know of people who need funding and they just can't get it. Then it opens my eyes to this industry called alternative lending industry. That was my beginning in the whole industry, basically. Then, of course, like any smart person would do, I'm all in the alternative lending, trying to fund deals and making a lot of money per transaction. When you get paid for something, you get a lot more motivated, obviously, right? So I'm like, I'm selling anyways. Then I started talking to people. Then I was always very interested in marketing. I combined my marketing skills with sales skills, started offering it as like a training to MCA companies. Then I noticed that a lot of them are like, they're not even listening. They just wanted to have their Wolf of Wall Street office, like a boiler room. They just wanted to smile and dial. Yeah. Then I started a lot more people approaching, asking me, like when you start succeeding, people start asking, they notice changes. Like you buy a new house, new car and all that stuff. And they're like, what do you do? Like similar to those like Instagram memes, like, hey, sir, what do you do type of thing. Then I started talking about it and I started individually training people. And fast forward to today, that led to the creation of Business Lending Blueprint. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, if someone doesn't even know about this, you probably felt the effects of demand, but you just cannot pinpoint why it's a massive industry. Since then, a lot has changed. So there's so many different funding options. It was only one back then. Do you mind going through some of the funding options that we have that you talk to people? Because that's one of the questions that you get honestly on a daily basis, right?
Yeah, 100%. Right before we get into that, I wanted to ask though, did you do any training or any licensing? Like what kind of experience before you got that $4,000 check? Where were you as far as like knowledge?
Zero. And there was no formal training. There weren't even any YouTube videos talking about the industry. Like I was like questioning, is this even real? Like what's going on here? I was trying to understand it. And it was like a brutal learning curve for me to, yes, money was there, but who do we send it to? Who the lenders? What kind of files do they accept? Do they accept every industry? If someone doesn't work for that option, it took me like 3 years solid to have my bearings together to understand the whole industry. I'm intellectually very curious. My background is science. I can't just keep doing something without trying to understand why it works. That why part kept bugging me. Then I started building processes for myself. That's why at BLB, we give you all of those things so you don't have to go through what I had to go through, right? So we have people who join in literally 30 to 60 days. They have more information, more knowledge than I had in the first 3 years. That's the shortcut that we provide because it all came from me actually going through the painful process of trying to have some kind of apprenticeship with different lenders and understanding, yeah, I know I made money, but why did you say yes to this file? And no one wanted to teach you that, right? So because they just kind of protect their systems in place. That's why if anyone is like saying that I can do this myself, can go to the lenders, yes, but why put yourself through the trouble of that? Like a lot of the lenders are not even accepting new brokers, honestly, and you're going to be stuck with one product. Diversity is key if you want to make a lot of money in one industry, right? So if you understand, hey, I have these options, the 0%, equipment, real estate, and SBA, government options, and even the fast money options like term loan and SBA, you can become more of a resource because I'm big on being consultant, right? Not a sales closer guy. How can we help the small businesses in the US thrive? And honestly, one of the fastest ways is if you get access to capital fast. One of the things that years ago, one of my mentors taught me is that he said, dude, the failure rate on small business is like 85, 90%. He said, do you know one of the best ways to survive? I'm like, no, teach me. And it was like, never run out of money. I'm like, wow, okay, that sounds very simple and almost idiotic, but that's very true. Number one reason people go out of business, if they had maybe another 6 months or so, they would have saved it. They just run out of capital and they cannot get access to it. They're learning business as they go, right? So we're solving that problem for more than 34 million businesses in the United States. And another shocking stat is that every day, 17,000 more businesses are being started. Like every single day you wake up until the end of the day, 17,000 new businesses LLCs are formed. To me, that was like, this is insane. The number, we're living in the most capitalistic country. And when you're designed that way, capital is the most important thing you need to survive, you know? And
it's the foundational part of the business, right? It's the fuel to keep it going, which brings another interesting stat. You'll be surprised how many business owners aren't aware of the access to private capital that they have. So that's another gap that we're covering here is we're providing that financial literacy to these brokers. As far as the options there, that $4,000 check you mentioned, what option did you fund for? What was that for?
It was merchant cash advance. Yeah, it was like a $40,000 merchant cash advance and they paid me 10 points on that, which is insane.
And now fast forwarding to today, what would you say is like the most common, because you're saying back then MCA was like the killer, right? That was the top option.
That was the only option.
Oh, it was the only option.
Only option, yeah.
Okay, now considering there's more creative financing solutions, what is like the most common one? Like, what are businesses looking for, or what are they needing mostly when they find this alternative lending options?
Amazing question. Honestly, it depends on, we're training our brokers on understanding the customer's needs so they can match it to the right funding option, right? Let's say you come across someone who wants to start a business and they don't have any revenue, they don't even have a tax ID number. We can help them get startup capital, right? Which was not a thing back then. No one knew about it. Like, go to your bank and try to get startup funding. Unless you collateralize your house, your car, or something, they're not going to give you anything, or they're going to maybe approve you for a $500 credit card. Whereas now those options are on the table. So when our brokers are trained, they know what questions to ask, right? Hey, what are you trying to do? Oh, I'm trying to buy a new fridge. Okay, so that means that could be equipment financing, for example. We have partners and lenders for that. So it's very diversified. Like, merchant cash advance is more like an urgent emergency type of funding, right? That's one of the things that I didn't really like about it. It was like, that was the only thing that people had. Now, if someone really needs money and they don't have good credit, they don't want to collateralize, they don't want to sell a portion of their business and have a partner or owe money to the bank, we can get them funded in 24 to 48 hours. But there are other scenarios. Maybe someone wants to buy the next door with the real estate. Then we have real estate funding options. Maybe they've been in business for like 1.5 to 2 years. We have government-backed funding called SBA funding, which comes with amazing rates. They give you the longest term. We provide it. We have one lender in our YouTube channel. I interview him. The guy has a full-time job selling payroll services. He funded over 100 business credit lines. So getting people approved for a line of credit, and he keeps getting paid every time they draw on it. Talk about repeat income and residual income, right? It's one of the least expensive options. And for businesses, as the saying goes, you never want to look for capital when you need it. You want to secure it when you don't need it. And when you need it, it's there. So business line of credit is there. See how we created this universe? Because I didn't want our brokers to be pigeonholed into one option and try to make it work, versus how do you build long-term relationship with your customers? Well, if you have the flexibility, if you have the diversity, right? If you have a robust offer that can be customized for what you do. We didn't talk about it just yet. Like you said earlier when we first started out, that doesn't require experience, for the reason that you don't need to understand the underwriting. You don't need to understand what lender funds what. We even fund the deals for you and close the sales. If you just focus on bringing us leads, we have an entire team in-house that can actually talk to your customers on your behalf and fund them. But if you're already a closer, a salesperson, you want to learn the entire process, you can do it yourself too. You get paid a lot more. I created that cash flow quadrant that allows people to start at different points based on where you are. So this doesn't have to be a mastery level training on how the alternative lending works. I wanted to learn it because I'm that kind of animal. But if someone wants to just generate leads and make money that way, we have a lot of people, as you know, doing that, right? They just talk to people around them. They don't need to be a marketing mogul. They can ask their neighbors and friends and connect them. That's what the broker is. Broker is the middle person between the person who needs the money and the person who provides the capital. And you make your commission in between by making the connection. So it can be as simple as that. But for those who want to, we have a lot of full-time brokers like and others, they do 40, 50K per month, but they cover the entire process because that's what they enjoy to do. And I'm not saying that by any means when we're listening that you're guaranteed to make any income. This is not a get rich quick scheme, right? So I know on your calls, you always cover two things. One is, do you have the time for this? Like, are you able to invest time into this? Minimum an hour a day is good enough, right? You can start slow and ramp it up. And the other thing is, this is a business. There is a financial cost to get involved with our network. Are you opposed to investing into your own training, right? When we have those two things in place, everything else we can train you on. But we need to make sure that you don't come in with the expectation of, I'm just going to join and money's going to rain. Unfortunately, nothing in life works that way.
And what you mentioned with he's making that amount 40, 50, 60, even $60,000 a month.
Oh yeah.
Because he's spreading himself out through different options. I know he's collecting consulting fees. I think I saw one of his posts in the community where he posted a picture from Puerto Rico on his computer. He's collecting consulting fees at that point. So he has different services that he offers. So he's not just collecting on brokering loans, he's also consulting, helping other people with different services, because that's what we provide. We provide the financial literacy so that you can decide what direction you want to take as far as, the services you want to provide.